It is time to get absolutely crazy with this first round mock draft.
Inside, and a beauty! Hall running free! Brees Hall inside the 10. He's gonna score!
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be doing a full first round mock draft. And in today's draft, I think that the theme or the idea or the concept that we're going to be going for is, one, trying to pick what I actually think the teams are going to pick, not just what I would do if I was that team. But I think secondly is trying to lean into some of the draft smoke or rumors or whatever it is that's going on right now, specifically regarding the first round and the players and the prospects that these teams may be in on. Brace yourselves. We're going to be using the PFF Mock Draft Simulator as we always do on this channel. And let's hop right in. And I think with the Carolina Panthers, I think we're going to take Bryce Young right here. I don't agree with this pick, and we know all of the reasons why. If you want to know more of the reasons why, I would take probably the other three quarterbacks, any of the other three quarterbacks in this position than Bryce Young. You can watch my quarterback rankings video that I did yesterday, and that's on the channel. And then today, you should have already seen the wide receiver rankings video. But I'm going to take Bryce Young here. I think that there's been a lot of speculation. I think originally we all thought that, it was going to be C.J. Stroud. I still ultimately think that it should be C.J. Stroud at this pick right here. But that being said, if they go Bryce Young, like a lot of the rumors are kind of leaning that way, which kind of leads me down this path of, it doesn't seem like the Texans are going to take a quarterback, and I'm totally on board with this this thought process and this methodology. I absolutely, totally believe that Nick Caserio will not be the general manager of the Houston Texans by the time week 1 comes around, and having him pick a quarterback for a future GM doesn't make sense. This quarterback class is absolutely abysmal, and it doesn't seem like the Houston Texans are in love with anyone not named Bryce Young, and that makes sense. So if that's the case, they're going to take Will Anderson Jr. here at the number 2 overall pick. And then the Cardinals are on the board at 3. And if we don't see quarterback 1, 2, I don't know of any team that's really going to want to come up and trade for a quarterback, especially in this quarterback draft. Don't think they're going to be able to sell the pick for maybe what they're looking for. Boom, Jalen Carter goes to the Arizona Cardinals. And now the Indianapolis Colts are on the board, and in a situation that I don't think they would have maybe expected a couple of months ago, picking 4, having the second quarterback pick in the draft. They absolutely are here. And when you look at Steichen and what his track record is, I'm going to take the quarterback that I think can, start right away if he goes to the right system and if he has a good offensive coordinator and good quarterbacks coach and good head coach. And I think that's what Indy has right now. Will Levis, you are an Indianapolis Colt. The Seattle Seahawks are on the board. And while we all know that they need help on the defensive side of the ball, and for a long time, this has been a defensive pick, I think that when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, and I've started to see this more, and the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. We know that Seattle builds their teams as of recently through the trenches, and last year their offense was what was winning them games. Solidify the offensive line. They went out and they got 2 tackles last year, and that was a home run hit for them. Run it back, and in the first round with the number 5 overall pick, I'm going to take Peter Skoronski specifically to play guard. I don't have Peter Skoronski probably projecting as a tackle at the next level, and this makes a ton of sense for them. Now, the Detroit Lions are on the board here, and we kind of all know what their needs are and what they're trying to do. But with the trading of Jeff Okudah away, I think that projected to the whole league. We're going cornerback at 6, and I think they're going to stick and pick Devin Witherspoon. I don't think they're going to be scared about his size. He is such a sticky corner, and he is one 1B to my 1A, but I think a lot of people have Witherspoon as the best corner in the draft, so I'm going to take him there and respect that take. Now, with the Las Vegas Raiders on the board here, I think the best pick for them is going to be Anthony Richardson in this situation. Jimmy Garoppolo is a great bridge quarterback, and getting a quarterback that you need to develop and all of those things makes a ton of sense. This is a project quarterback, and it's in the perfect spot for the Vegas Raiders to go and get their guy of the future, and boom, Anthony Richardson is now a Raider. And here's a situation that I don't think Atlanta ever expected themselves to be in, but CJ Stroud is here at 8, and while they may talk a big game of liking Desmond Ridder, when you can pick a prospect that is this clean, this processes this quickly, and is just NFL ready, specifically in how weak that division is, you have to take him. CJ Stroud goes 8th overall to the Atlanta Falcons, and now comes the Chicago Bears. And now I know what a lot of people are going to say. Oh, the Chicago Bears probably need to take an offensive tackle here. This is probably Paris Johnson Jr. And while I would tend to agree with a lot of you guys when it comes to that, they have done a great job of adding a ton of offensive line players in this free agency. And I think the spot where they probably need the most help right now is actually on the other side of the ball, on the defensive line. And that's where we're going to be going with the 9th overall pick. We're going to take Tyree Wilson at 9 here, partner him up with their newly signed edge in DeMarcus Walker, and really try to get after the passer as efficiently and as quickly as possible. Now, this is a pick that really racks my brain in the sense of what are they really going to do? I think that the plan is going to be going offensive line or defensive line in this position. 1 of 10 or 30 is going to be addressed at those positions. And I think that when you're here, I think that the pick here has to be a guy that gives you that flexibility. I'm going to take Paris Johnson Jr. here, number 10 to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he can slot in right now and play right guard for them. And I think that the idea for that is Lane Johnson is 32. You're going to move on from him sooner rather than later. And having his heir apparent in the building is really, really important. Look at what they did with Travis Kelce, having Cam Jurgens in the house as his heir apparent. The moment Kelce retires, Cam is going to step in and immediately play. The moment Johnson retires or gets released or anything like that, Paris Johnson can immediately come in and step in. They've got the pieces, and we know that Philadelphia's offensive attack was so successful last year because they had, in my opinion, the best offensive line in football. Maintain that, protect the guy that you just paid an insane amount of money to, and you go and you do that. Now, the Tennessee Titans are here at 11, and again, this is a place where the offensive line seems to be the place where we think that they're going to go, and I think that that's exactly where they're going to go. I think that with the signing of Andre Dillard, they took care of the left tackle spot. Let's take care of the right tackle spot, and we're going to take Darnell Wright here at 11. Darnell Wright is a true right tackle, and he's going to immediately come in and be an upgrade to Nicholas Petit-Frere, the pick that they took last year. Now, this isn't an indictment on Petit-Frere or anything like that. I think he absolutely has the skill set and the ability to probably bump inside and play guard, and you really just, at this point, if you're the Titans, need to do what you can and invest in the offensive line, because we know that Tannehill doesn't work fantastic under pressure, and just having the best 5 guys out there, forgetting and ignoring the position that they were drafted, I think is the best move for everyone. Now, the Houston Texans are on the board here, and they took Will Anderson at number 2, and at number 12, it would have seemed like, oh, this would be a great spot for a quarterback or something like that, but none of the quarterbacks made it this far. I think if you're the Houston Texans, you got to do what's good for your team in the long term, not the short term, specifically when it comes to this pick. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing here. This is a pick that's not going to pay off in the short term. It's not going to help your team right now, but in 2 years from now, when you do draft your quarterback, probably number 1 overall next year, this guy's going to be a huge help. So I'm going to be taking the edge rusher, Lucas Van Ness. He absolutely fits kind of my mental picture of what DeMeco wants on the defensive line. And again, it's just addressing the trenches. Lucas Van Ness provides you the flexibility to play inside and outside, and adding Will Anderson and Lucas Van Ness with the addition of free agent signing Sheldon Rankins. And let's not forget that they had Malik Collins there last year, who was okay. You've now created a system where you can create a ton of pressure while also guaranteeing that you're probably not going to score a ton of points next year and still going to be able to go and get your quarterback. So the Texans walk away in this first round without taking a quarterback at all. It looks like the Davis Mills experiment is going to keep on going for one more year. The New York Jets are on the board at 13, and I think everybody knows kind of what I'm going to do here. It makes a ton of sense. I still think that the New York Jets should take Broderick Jones here. And yeah, it's one of those things where you need to solidify the offensive line. When we saw a run on tackles going with Skoronski and Johnson and Darnell Wright all being taken at this point, you can't risk, more tackles and more guys coming off the board and then not getting your guy and trading back. Protect Aaron Rodgers. You make that pick and you move on. The Patriots are on the board here, and this is another spot where you look at and you go, they probably need the offensive line. They probably need the right tackle. Riley Reif is a stopgap at worst. But I think that when you look at the Patriots and how they've won football games and what their expectation is and what they try to do, I think Christian Gonzalez is the pick here. I have him as my number 1 corner on the board. They have a need at corner, and he kind of matches what, in my opinion, the prototypical corner that Bill Belichick would be going for. And so Christian Gonzalez goes across the country to New England. Now the Green Bay Packers are here at 15, and this is all about helping your young wide receiver. We're not even going to talk about it. Jackson Smith-Njigba is the pick here at 15. Makes a ton of sense. They need to get a wide receiver that has legitimate, I don't want to say legitimate skill set that can help your quarterback, because Christian Watson has those things, but I think there's a much higher upside with Jackson Smith-Njigba than there is with Christian Watson. Christian Watson seems to be kind of developing into and is kind of projected to be, kind of like a deep threat kind of a guy, and Jackson Smith-Njigba can really be your do it all underneath kind of guy, and he has that ability to create space. So Jackson Smith-Njigba, first wide receiver taken. Now, the Washington Commanders are here on the board, and this is just one of those picks where you're just like, there's nothing here that they really love or that they really need or that they really want. So you're just going to take a player that arguably fits a position of need that they have and just help out Sam Howell. And we're going to take Dalton Kincaid here at 16. I think it makes a ton of sense. I think this is like a positional need for them. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the board, and normally I would probably have like Deonte Banks or Joey Porter Jr. going here, but with this run on tackles, I don't think that they should be in love with their tackle position at all. I know that there are reports saying that they're fine with it. I don't think that they are. I think that that's smoke so that they can maybe try to get somebody here at 17 and to try to not have people trade up. This is a really deep defensive back class, and with only 2 being taken at this point, you got to take the tackle. Anton Harrison goes 17 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think they're ecstatic with this kind of pick. Now at 5, At 6, the Lions took Devin Witherspoon. And at 18, there is this ideology and this thought process that, you know what, they're going to have to continue to pick on the defensive side of the ball. And while part of that is true, I feel like getting Goff weapons has to be the number one priority. And the question for me comes in, do you take a guy like Quentin Johnson who brings in a physicality and that a skill set that you don't have in that wide receiver room? Yeah, you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then obviously the year 2 player in Jameson Williams coming in, but they both fit a very similar kind of skill set in like tallish, lanky, really, really fast receivers. Do you want to get maybe a guy who fits as a slot wide receiver and can play that a little bit more? Do you trust playing Amon-Ra St. Brown out wide more? I know he did most of his damage last year in the slot. These are questions that I obviously don't have answers to, but instead of creating a problem in that room, you know, what we're going to do is we're just going to take tight end 1, in my opinion, and Michael Mayer here, and now you've got, you know, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Williams, Michael Mayer, Swift there in the backfield, and I think that you're absolutely ecstatic with that pick, and then you can address the defensive line. Again, another position that's really deep in the second round, because they have a ton of picks this year, so yeah. Now, the Bucs are a team that I have no idea really what they're going to do, how they're going to address this team, how they're going to try to make this team better. They have a ton of like obscure holes that like they might be into. The offensive line guys are all kind of gone. Do they really want to take DeJuan Jones here? I think this is a little bit of a reach for a guy like a DeJuan Jones. None of the quarterbacks are here for you to really go and take there. Calijah Kancey is a need because they have an interior defensive line need, obviously. But Calijah Kancey doesn't fit the mold of what, you know, Tampa tends to look for in their defensive tackles. They did just sign Ryan Neal. So, like, Brian Branch isn't really a need. This is a difficult pick here. This is a really difficult pick. But you know what? They did just lose Leonard Fournette. Rachaad White is good, but not great when it comes to the running back position, or he wasn't great last year. And the NFL is leaning towards 2 running back rooms anywhere. Bijan Robinson provides an explosive capability out of that backfield. And so, boom, he immediately comes in and becomes running back 1 and can really help that offense, and hopefully Baker Mayfield if they're trying to win games. Seattle took an offensive lineman in the first, and they're going to go to the other side of the ball in the second, and they're going to get an absolute freak athlete. His fall is going to stop here. Nolan Smith is going to go to the Seattle Seahawks, and boom, they're just getting the big uglies, and they're addressing the trenches on both sides of the football. That's exactly what they need. That's exactly what they want. That's exactly what they're hoping for, and boom, there you go. That's what they're doing. Now, the Chargers are probably looking here, and they're going to take wide receiver 2 off of the board, and they're going to take Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers provides a skill set to that team that they don't have right now, which is just like his ability to create space and working from the slot, and I love Zay Flowers and what he brings to this team. I love Zay Flowers as a prospect, specifically in the slot. He's a wide receiver 2 on my board. Is this a little bit of a reach, in my opinion? Probably. I don't have a first-round grade on Zay Flowers, but if we're being honest, there's really only 2 guys left in this draft that I have first-round grades on. 3 guys that I have first-round grades on at this point. Every pick here is going to be kind of a crap show because who knows who's going to go where and why and when and for what reason. Now, the Baltimore Ravens here are an interesting pick. I keep seeing a lot of the pick that I'm about to make. So let me start by saying I don't like this pick at all. Like, to the contrary, I hate this pick. Like, a lot. But I keep seeing this, and the idea here is let's go with like the rumors. Let's go with what the people are saying and what people are projecting. And again, I don't like this pick. But I keep seeing the Baltimore Ravens taking Hendon Hooker in the first round. Now, not only do I not have a first round grade, let alone a second or a third round grade on Hendon Hooker, but like, whatever. Like, they need the quarterback there in case Lamar Jackson's situation doesn't work out and he doesn't play football. And I don't think that he will. I think Lamar Jackson is going to, he would rather sit all of next year than play not with his contract, and I think that's incredibly foolish of him. Seeing, especially after, Hurts got paid, you're not going to get a fully guaranteed contract. Hurts is probably more worthy of the fully guaranteed contract than Lamar was, especially with him being a second-round pick, and the fact that he just took his team to the Super Bowl with a similar skill set that Lamar had, and he showed that he could win with his arm. Like, again, different conversations, whatever. I keep saying this. I hate this pick. I don't love it at all, but there's that. Now, the Vikings are on the board, and I'm just going to take Quentin Johnson here. I think they need the wide receiver. I think right now they only have KJ Osborne and obviously Justin Jefferson. I'm not in love with KJ as like a prospect or as a player, like overall. And I'm not a real big fan of really any of the other guys that they have on there. Get a big-bodied wide receiver to really partner up with Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is your all-around elite wide receiver. I think if you can teach Quentin Jefferson to really up his physicality, you can really have like a big body, what is he? Quentin Johnson's 6'4", I believe, right? Yeah, 6'3", 208. Great pickup for them, in my opinion. Now, this is another pick where I look at it and I go, I have no idea what's going to happen here. But I think they need to address the center position, and I keep seeing this guy coming up and up and up and up and up and up. And so I'm going to take Joe Tippmann in the first round. I keep seeing this projected. Joe Tippmann is not center one on my board. If you're interested in that, come back in a couple of days. But it is absolutely a position of need. They need it desperately. And so they're going to go out and they're going to get their guy, and they're going to make it happen. Now, when we look at the New York Giants, there's obviously a very clear need at wide receiver, but all of the wide receivers on the board all kind of match what they have. Small, shifty, lanky, ultimately should probably be slot wide receivers, players, and that makes a ton of sense. Now, this is another one of those picks where it's just like, what's the right move here? They need the wide receiver, but there's not really a wide receiver that I feel super comfortable here with. They need the edge. Not really. You know what? We're going to just double up on the edge. We're going to take Myles Murphy here, the edge. Ojulari, while was okay last year, isn't good enough to not justify them taking an edge. Thibodeau, again, had a very productive rookie year, but that defensive line needs help. They're going to get their help. And then we're going to just we're going to keep on this train. Kalijah Kancey, the interior defensive lineman, goes to the Cowboys. They really got to help Dexter Lawrence, and they got to help Micah Parsons there. Boom. Easy breezy. The Buffalo Bills are on the board, and they're going to go Jordan Addison. I think that matchup with Stephon Diggs, if Stephon Diggs is still there, makes a ton of sense. Jordan Addison in the slot is going to provide you with a skill set and a route running ability that they just don't have on the team right now outside of Stephon Diggs, and maybe Jordan Addison can be that second elite pass catcher for them, and there's that. Now, the Bengals are on the board here, and I'm going to make a pick that I keep seeing, and I keep falling in love with more and more and more, and that is them taking a tight end in the first round, but specifically, they're going to take tight end Darnell Washington. Now, while I don't necessarily have Darnell Washington graded this highly on my board, I get why they keep saying this. This comes in and provides them with an immediate protection at right tackle that they don't have right now and helps them out a ton. The Saints, I'm not even going to think twice. They need help on the interior of the offensive line. Steve Avila immediately to the New Orleans Saints. They need help at guard. Steve Avila is a guard. They need help at center. Steve Avila is a center. Boom. They have that flexibility, and easy breezy, they can move on, and they're fine. Now, I took Paris Johnston at 10 for the Eagles. Let's address the other side of the ball now, and we're going to take Will McDonald, the edge. They have a ton of aging veterans on the defensive line, and we know how much they love to rotate their defensive line, build the team through the trenches. They didn't lose anybody else that really impacted their team in a big way. There you go. You take it. And then we go to the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs are going to address the trenches. Now, the real question for me is, do you take DeJuan Jones to partner with Jawan Taylor now and play DeJuan Jones at right tackle? Do you believe in him there? Or do you take a guy like Felix Anudike Uzoma here to help replace the production in, Jones that you lost? Or not Jones. Who did they lose? I forget his name. They lost the edge rusher there. Was it Jones? No, it wasn't Jones. They drafted Karlaftis last year, and he was okay. They did get Omenihu as well in free agency, but I think you got to address the big uglies. I'm going to take DeJuan Jones. You got to protect Patrick Mahomes. You got to do it. There's no questions, ifs, ands, or buts about it. Boom! Here is my full first-round mock draft. Here are all the picks. Let me know what you guys think of all the players that I took, the teams that I sent them to. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section below. And last but not least, go Jets.